If we had just stayed on the main trail, none of this would have happened. There were 4 of us, me, Nick, Jaime, and Tasha, all in our 20s, all reckless enough to believe the real danger in the Grand Canyon was dehydration or falling off a cliff, not waking something buried for 1,000 generations. We weren't tourists, we were backcountry hikers, gear nerds, trail rats, the type who packed maps, carried water filters, and read forum threads about closed routes and ancient ruins that shouldn't exist. The Grand Canyon was supposed to be our crown jewel. Nick had planned the whole thing. Not from a guidebook, he found the route through an old geology message board, buried in a 2007 post by someone named Wallace Tripp. It wasn't on any official map. A faint, dotted path that twisted along a box canyon deep on the Wallapai side, then vanished into a ravine no one had updated since the 90s. It used to be a mining trail, Nick said. Then it got shut down. Someone found petroglyphs near it. But Tripp, he said he found something else. We should have turned around the first night. The wind dropped to 0, the temperature felt wrong, and none of our GPS devices could agree on where we were. But Nick kept pushing forward. It's just interference, he said. The rocks mess with signals. The second day, we dropped into the ravine. The rock walls closed in tighter. We started seeing bones, coyote mostly. Some bleached, some fresh. A rib cage lodged in a crevice. A cracked femur under a cairn. Tasha muttered something under her breath. I caught part of it. This place doesn't want us here. What? I asked. She shook her head. My grandmother used to say rocks remember things, especially where blood was spilled. It didn't stop Nick, or Jaime, who had his phone out constantly, recording footage. If we find anything weird out here, I'm posting it, Jaime said. First person Deep Canyon Paranormal. Half my subscribers think the Grand Canyon is hollow and full of lizard people. That's because you told them it was, Tasha said flatly. He just grinned. I said maybe. We camped one more night. Then, on the 3rd morning, we found the slit in the rock. It wasn't marked. No symbols, no trail. Just a vertical seam in the canyon wall, barely 4 feet high, nearly hidden beneath collapsed shale. If the sun hadn't hit it just right, we would have walked past it. Nick dropped to one knee and brushed the dust away. Holy shit. He waved us closer. It's not erosion. This is clean. Cut. Straight. Like a doorway. Jaime crouched beside him, flashlight ready. It goes deep. I don't see an end. Tasha stood back. Don't go in. Nick turned to her. Come on. Don't tell me you believe this place is cursed. She didn't answer, just stared at the gap in the stone, like it was breathing. Jaime was already crawling in. Nick turned to us. We're going. Now. I hesitated. We didn't tell anyone where we were going. That's the point, he said. No one's ever filmed this. If Tripp was right, we're about to go viral. Tasha crossed her arms. So did the last guy. Still, we followed. The temperature dropped the moment we entered. The air changed. Thicker. Electric, almost. Like walking into a server room or the seconds before a lightning strike. The tunnel was narrow for the first 20 feet, then opened just enough to stand. The walls weren't jagged. They were smooth. The floor had been carved into shallow steps, worn from time. Tasha kept glancing over her shoulder. You okay? I whispered. She nodded once. There's a word my grandmother used. Dealheel. It means poison wind. The kind of place where spirits go but don't leave. I didn't laugh. None of us did. 20 minutes in, the flashlight beams hit something carved into the wall. Not graffiti. Not mining marks. Hieroglyphs. Hundreds of them. Carved deep into the sandstone. Snakes, falcons, eyes, and figures bowing before something with curved horns. Jaime's voice dropped. No way. That's Egyptian. Nick stepped closer. How the hell? What is this doing here? We followed the corridor deeper, past symbols that repeated like a mantra. Then the space opened up into a chamber. It was maybe 30 feet across, ceiling lost in shadow, and in the center, raised on a stone platform, a golden mask, falcon-headed, ornate, eyes hollow, wrapped in linen, propped atop a cracked pedestal. None of us moved, because along the far wall, partially hidden in the dark, were dozens of upright figures, wrapped in linen, slouched like they were sleeping, and every single one was wearing a mask. Nick was the first to break the silence. "This is real," he muttered. "This is actually real." He stepped toward the pedestal like he was in a trance. The mask glinted in his headlamp, smooth gold catching flickers of blue stone inlaid around the eyes. It looked ancient, but untouched by time. No dust, no cracks, no decay. "Don't," Tasha said sharply. "Don't touch anything." Nick froze, inches away. This doesn't make sense. Egypt and the Grand Canyon? There's no archaeological connection, no documented migration. This shouldn't be here. I felt it too, that cognitive whiplash. I'd studied enough to know that even fringe theories about Egyptians crossing the Atlantic were laughed out of any serious room. But here we were, surrounded by dozens of mummified bodies in linen wrappings and death masks. In a canyon chamber that didn't appear on any map, Jaime moved toward one of the bodies near the edge of the room. "These aren't props. Look at the linen, the resin staining, the anatomical positioning. This is authentic mummification." He turned to us and added, half joking but half awed, "If this gets out, my channel's gonna blow up." Then the lights flickered. Not our flashlights, the room. A pulse, faint, brief, like someone had flicked a switch behind our eyes. Jaime froze. "Did you see that?" Then, click. A deep, mechanical groan vibrated through the floor. Slam. The tunnel behind us collapsed. Dust exploded from the rock. I screamed. Nick ran back to the entryway, pounding on the stone. It was solid, seamless. There was no gap, no opening. The way we came in was gone. No, 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 no. Nick slammed his fists against the wall, blood streaking the sandstone. Tasha backed up against the far wall, breathing fast. Why would they rig this place to shut itself? Jaime was hyperventilating. Maybe it's pressure activated, a trap for looters. Maybe we triggered something ancient. Nick turned slowly. Maybe it wasn't meant to keep us out. We all turned to look at the mummies again. Then I noticed the wall carvings had changed. Before, we saw repeating symbols, stylized animals, figures, curved lines. Now, the pattern was different. It showed humanoid figures kneeling before a massive crowned entity. Its arms were too long, its fingers tapered to claws. The crown extended like curved horns or twisted antlers. Tasha stared at it. "That headdress. It's not a crown," Nick said quietly. "It's the Set animal, the symbol of Set." Jaime glanced at him. "The Egyptian god of storms and chaos?" Nick nodded. "Protector of desert trade routes. Also, destroyer of order, enemy of Osiris." Jaime looked back at the carvings. "Is that what this place is? A temple?" The air grew colder. Then we heard it. Drip, drip, drip. From the ceiling above. Jaime pointed his light upward and let out a choked yell. Something was crawling across the ceiling. Thin, pale, human-shaped but wrong. Its joints bent at sharp angles. It moved quickly, spider-like, vanishing into a narrow crack above us. Its eyes reflected the light. Not white, not red. Just black, oily, endless. We stepped away from the center of the room instinctively, toward the pedestal. Tasha's voice broke. One of them moved. I turned. The closest mummy, its mask had tilted slightly. Its shoulders slumped, linen shifting like something was moving beneath it. Nick whispered, "They're not just corpses." Then one stood up, the wrapping unwound from its legs in slow, sinewy spirals. Its joints cracked as it moved, like ancient wood, bending. It didn't attack, it just stood there, breathing. More figures began to stir. The others slowly rose, one by one, all masked, all wrapped, all impossibly upright. Then the far wall began to glow. Symbols lit in a pulsing red ring. A circular stone began to rotate and sink into the wall like a mechanical iris opening. The frequency in the room shifted. My teeth hurt from it. My bones buzzed. And the mummies all turned to face the new opening. Like they were waiting. We ran. No plan, no coordination, just raw panic. The standing mummies didn't chase us, not immediately, but the chamber behind us was alive now. The hum deepened to a low vibration, like the canyon itself was groaning. Nick led the charge into a side corridor, narrower than the last, just wide enough for single-file movement. The sandstone turned darker, smoother. Our boots slipped on the incline as the tunnel sloped sharply downward. "Don't stop," Nick yelled. "Keep going." The walls around us began to shift color, no longer red desert stone, but veined black, almost like polished obsidian. The air thickened, my lungs burned. Sweat beaded across my back despite the cold. Then, Jaime was gone. He'd been behind me, flashlight in hand, talking something about magnetic resonance. Then nothing. I turned. "Jaime?" Only darkness. His beam had vanished. Tasha grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my jacket. He was right there. Maybe he took a wrong turn. Maybe Nick cut me off. No side tunnels. This is a single shaft. We called his name. Again and again. No answer. Then the tunnel opened suddenly into a massive subterranean chamber. And there, centered in a perfectly circular stone platform, was a sarcophagus, 10 feet long, gleaming with gold, obsidian, and blue crystal inlays. Unlike the mummies above, this wasn't dusty or worn. It looked untouched, preserved, revered. Carved into the floor around it were interlocking spiral runes, burned into the stone. "This isn't a tomb," I whispered. "It's a vault." Nick stepped toward it, entranced. Tasha grabbed him. "Don't. You don't open things like this." He shook her off. "If Jaime's in there, I'm not leaving him." The air pulsed again. The spirals on the ground began to flicker red. Then we heard it, a groan, from inside the sarcophagus. I stepped back. That's not Jaime. Another groan, closer this time, wet and gurgling. Nick pressed both hands to the sarcophagus lid and pushed. It didn't budge. Then, the spirals lit up in unison, and the lid moved on its own. A hiss of escaping air, a foul, resin-sweet smell. The lid slid open just enough for us to see Jaime, curled inside, eyes closed, breathing. Nick reached in. "Jaime, hey, we're here." Tasha grabbed his shoulder. "Nick, wait, look at him." Jaime's skin was waxy. His lips were pale. His chest rose and fell, slowly, too slowly. Then, his eyes opened, pitch black, and he smiled. Nick recoiled. Jaime sat upright in one jagged, unnatural movement, spine cracking as he straightened. He stepped out barefoot, calm, controlled. Then, he spoke, but it wasn't Jaime's voice. It was multiple voices layered into one, a whisper and a growl and a scream, all wrapped together. "You who trespass bear witness. The seal is broken." Tasha stumbled back, horrified. "That's not Jaime, that's—" Jaime's head tilted. A snapping sound echoed through the room. His jaw unhinged, sagging low, revealing rows of teeth that weren't human. His skin rippled like something was moving underneath it. Then, his voice shifted again. "You are not the first, but you will be the last." Behind us, movement. Mummies, descending the tunnel, masked, silent, surrounding the chamber. Nick backed up slowly. "We're not getting out this way." I grabbed Tasha's arm. There, another tunnel. To the right of the sarcophagus, a new corridor had opened. Smooth-walled, pitch black. We bolted. Jaime didn't follow, but he didn't need to, because the last thing I saw as we ran was his face beginning to change. His mask was forming, from inside his skin. We ran again, deeper into the tunnel that had opened beside the sarcophagus. But the further we went, the less the space felt like a cave, and more like a temple. The walls were too smooth, too symmetrical. They curved and bent in unnatural ways, rounded corners that warped our sense of direction. Columns emerged where there should have been rock, carved in spirals and covered in unreadable script. Tasha kept whispering under her breath. I couldn't make out the words. The floor dipped again. The air thickened, syrupy and hot. Our lights flickered. Nick cursed behind me. "We're in a loop. We've passed this same arch twice." "No," Tasha said. "It's changing with us. This place isn't built like the real world. It's alive." I turned to her. "You need to tell us what you know. Now." She hesitated, then stopped in front of a wall etched with a serpent eating its own tail. "My grandmother. She used to tell me stories. Not myths, warnings, about the canyon. She said it wasn't just a scar in the earth. It was a lock." I stared at her. You knew something like this could be down here. I didn't know it was real. Her voice cracked. But I had dreams, for years, of this place, of masks, of a desert god with no face and too many arms. She called it the thing beneath the sun. Said the people who lived here long ago knew it by a different name. They buried it in stone and silence. They sacrificed themselves to keep it quiet. Nick ran a hand through his hair. So what is this place? A prison? Tasha looked up. A womb. What? It's not just where something was sealed. It's where something is reborn. That's when the walls began to breathe, not figuratively. The surface flexed, exhaling hot air in pulses. A low hum returned, this time vibrating through our bones. Carvings began to move, sliding across the stone, reforming, reshaping. A figure appeared. Tasha, carved into the wall, wearing a mask. We stared in silence. It's copying us, I whispered. Nick raised his flashlight, then froze. His reflection had appeared in the black glass of a nearby pillar. But it wasn't moving in sync, it just watched him, with blank eyes. Suddenly, a screech echoed from the hallway behind us. Jaime. It wasn't a human scream. It was high-pitched and wet, like metal tearing underwater. Tasha grabbed something from her pocket, a stone shard, etched with the same spiral glyphs we'd seen on the sarcophagus. My grandmother gave me this, said if I ever reached the mouth of Set, this would buy me time. Buy you time for what? Nick asked. To close the gate. From the far corridor, footsteps, bare feet on stone. Fast. We're out of time, I said. Then the room collapsed inward. Walls twisted, lights vanished. We were standing inside a new chamber now, dome-shaped, every surface black, glowing faintly from underneath. In the center stood a mirror, 7 feet tall, veiled in black fabric. None of us touched it, but our reflections were already visible, not matching our movements. Tasha's reflection held a mask in one hand and a knife in the other. Nick's version had no eyes, just black sockets. Mine was bleeding from the mouth. Then the reflections moved, unsynced, and pointed behind us. We turned. Jaime stood there, no longer human. His skin was cracked like dry clay. His mouth was too wide. His limbs twitched like wires pulling at the wrong angles. And his voice. The womb breaks, the breath returns. Dozens of mummified forms stepped in behind him, masks shining in the dark. Nick whispered, "We're not getting out of this." Tasha stepped between us and Jaime, holding the glyph stone in her fist. "I know your name," she said. Jaime froze. The air tightened. "You are the mouth of chaos, the mimic god, the one who wears the skin of explorers. You were buried, and you will be buried again." Jaime screamed, a guttural sound that cracked stone. Tasha slammed the shard into the floor. A blast of white light erupted, ripping through the chamber. Nick grabbed my arm. "Run!" We sprinted into the light as the cave roared, the world shaking apart around us. We don't remember how we got out, just flashes, running through blinding white, the walls shrieking, the floor rising like it wanted to swallow us whole. At some point, the light faded, and the sky above us returned. We were back on the surface. The sun was rising. The canyon was still. The wind blew again, but Tasha was gone. We screamed her name until our throats were raw. We climbed every ridge we could. No sign, no gear, no tracks, just wind-carved silence. Eventually, we found our old base camp. Our satellite beacon still worked. We triggered it. A helicopter arrived before nightfall. The rangers asked questions. The medics checked us for trauma, dehydration, concussion. Nick kept saying it was a cave-in, a freak accident. I backed him up. We didn't tell them about the hieroglyphs, the sarcophagus, Jaime's black eyes. We didn't tell them what Tasha did, but they knew something was off. Because when we gave them the coordinates of the cave, they flew out to investigate. There was nothing there. No opening, no seam in the rock, just solid canyon wall. They said we must have gotten turned around. that grief warps perception, that the heat does strange things. We were released a few days later. They told us to rest, talk to someone, let Tasha go, but we weren't alone. 3 days later, Nick called me at 2:41 a.m. They found my laptop, he said. It had been mailed to his apartment, no return address. Inside the box, the laptop was melted, blackened, the ports were fused shut, except for one corner, untouched. He pulled the hard drive, recovered one file, a photo of us, standing in front of the sarcophagus, Nick, Jaime, Tasha, and me. But here's the thing, we never took that picture. In the background, half shrouded in the dark, was a figure wearing a jackal mask. Nick deleted the photo. An hour later, his bathroom mirror shattered from the inside out. 5 days after our escape, 2 more packages arrived. One for me, one for Nick. No sender. No markings. In mine, a gold mask, a linen wrap soaked with something dark, and a slip of paper, brittle and curling, with one sentence: "You left the gate open." In Nick's, a cracked hand mirror, a Polaroid of Tasha, wearing the jackal mask, and a note, scrawled in the same spidery handwriting: "It remembers your face." That night, Nick swore his reflection blinked when he didn't. I haven't slept since. Some nights, I dream of spirals, of Jaime's eyes, of Tasha's voice calling from behind stone walls that breathe. I moved to a new apartment. I got rid of every mirror. But last night, the power flickered, and I woke up to find the linen wrap on my pillow, still warm, still damp, still folded in the shape of a face.